we see here a period where he was subject to them, but now it's turning around and where she's going to be subject to him, her Redeemer. I mean, he is Jesus, the Son of God. You know, he came to save his people from their sins. So what does she do? Verse 5.
Isabel said to the servant, "Do whatever he tells you." Okay,
so that kind of the thing to turn around now is like, you know, nothing's else said, no other conversation, and so now the ball's in Jesus' court. What is he going to do? He said, you know, Rita, what has this got to do with us? And so then what does he do? Verse 7.
6. All right. Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons.
Okay. All right, so we know these are empty because they're going to get filled. In verse 7, we know they're empty. These were used for ceremonial washing. They poured water over their hands and different things. Well, you know, the people at the wedding, they washed their hands before when they came in because they're going to be eating and all that stuff. So there was about 120 to 150 gallons of water in these things, but it was all gone. They had used it up. So that kind of might give you an idea. You know, if 300 people were there and they washed their hands, and it'd probably take that much water, pouring it out like they don't have low use fixtures like we have. But
or environmental
they don't have spigots and stuff, do they?
Okay. The presence of the jars indicates that this is a house with some wealth, and that it is an observant household when it comes to religious matters. And, you know, they were doing what they were supposed to do. It was habitual for them. All right, verse number 7.
Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water," so they filled them to the brim.
Okay, the key here is how much water you put in there. He said to fill, and that word means to load. To load, it was like a boat. It said load it down, or it's there's another word that means fill to for sure, but it's full means full, and so they filled them to the brim. That's exactly what he told them to do. So another important thing here is that they did what he said to do. They didn't even question it. They were obedient to what he said to do. All right, verse number 8.
Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so.
All right. So they did it again. They put the water in there and they drew it out. And I don't know what point they realized it had been changed. Maybe not until they carried it to the master of the banquet. But again, they were obedient to do what he said to do. They didn't even question anything that he said. All right. Verse number 9.
And the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside. Okay. All right. So they and they could tell by his reaction that something was different. It was not water anymore. And it's he didn't realize where the wine had come from, but it said the servants did. So they were they didn't say anything about it. So he called the bridegroom aside, and verse number 10 is their conversation.
And said to him, "People always serve the best wine first. Later, after the guests have been drinking a while, they serve the cheaper wine. But you have saved the best wine until now."
Okay. All right. That was the usual thing. You know, they bring out what's the best and not vinegary and not watered down. You know, and then when people. The guy here says when they got a buzz. Well, not everybody did. It wasn't a drunken gala. But, you know, it was probably somebody. There's always somebody that's got, you know, they're going to dip into it a little bit more. But it doesn't, it doesn't mention that. But anyway, the thing is once you taste something, the first taste that you have of something, that seems like you can best tell what's in it. After you've eaten 2 or 3 plates, boys, you can't tell. It amazes me, these people that judge these cooking shows, and they're eating and eating and eating. Well, to me, the first person had the best chance. Unless theirs was so bad that the last one was really. But so kind of, these people are going along, and so people say, okay, we're gonna serve the watered down stuff. The older is we're going to do that, and then they won't even know it. And so that was a usual thing. That's what people expected. Well, this was totally different because it says the choice wine. So what was choice about it? I think it's pretty interesting to think about. What was it? It was
divine wine.
Yeah, I think it was, that's exactly right. And it was just as if it had just been, squeezed. That's what I think. Because why would Jesus serve 150 gallons of wine that had alcohol in it to contribute to the drunkenness of everybody? It wouldn't. I mean, we know the context. He wouldn't have done that. There's all kinds of arguments about people say, "Well, we can go out and we can drink and do whatever we want to because Jesus drank," you know. But you have to
In moderation.
Well, it does. Even Paul says, a little wine. Well, the wine that they had like 3 or 4% alcohol in it. But I believe that when he did this, it was no wine, it was no alcohol in it. They said it was choice because it was it's best when it's right then. That's just my opinion. Y'all, whatever you think. I just don't see him contributing to the. That when he made it had 3 or 4% in it. Maybe it did. But at that rate there, one guy read said, well, if it was that much in there, and it was 150 gallons, there was 300 people there, they were, what is it? You get toxic shock when some of these kids will just gulp down a whole pint of alcohol, and it kills them. Your body can't stand it. He said that's what would have happened if they drank that much because they were already full. He said that they had already drank all the wine in supply. But anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting to think about. But Jesus, everything he does is going to be to the best. And when he says feel something, that's what he means. When we are filled, we're filled to the fullest. That's how he does things.
Well, do we know that they did drink all the wine?
No, they don't say. We don't know if they drank 150 gallons or not,
Right.
or 120, whatever. Sure. But if they had it's just an argument. Some people say, well, how much wine was in? I mean, how much alcohol was in there? Who knows? He it turned in as soon as that it was already when they poured the water in there. At some point, it was already. Everybody he did that. He didn't say anything. It just happened. But he's God. He can do anything he wants. Pretty miraculous thing. All right, verse number 11.
What Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed him.
Okay. All right. The word the NIV uses the word sign. It was a miracle. This was the first miracle that he did. Who benefited from the miracle?
The disciples.
Yep. Anybody else? Not that we know of. Maybe
Maybe the servants that.
Yeah, they might have, but it just mentions here that the disciples believed on him. So they that word believe is, they put their full trust in it. That's what that means. There's going to be times where he continued to bring things up and explain things to them to get them to grow to the point. But he knew that they were not going to fully be converted until he confronted them after he had risen from the dead. It all came together then. All the teachings that he had been teaching them came together then. But at this point here, I think Nathaniel even tells them that he was there when John the Baptist baptized him, and so he was telling them who Jesus was. And now they after seeing this, they know this was God had his hand in this. No human could have done this miracle here. Okay, and in verse 12.
After this, he went down to Capernaum with his mother and brothers and his disciples. Right. There they stayed for a few days. Okay, and this is more or less kind of a transition verse. Again, they're going here, heading to for the Passover meal that was going to happen in a few days. Okay.
It's kind of tied in with something that I've been looking at about lately. It's medicinal versus recreational thing. And we, as a society, have dealt through some of that even back then. That was a medicinal form and a recreational form of alcohol. We got one coming up with marijuana, and we've had some friends who've gotten really sick. And sick to the point that nothing would work. And they had to rely on medicinal marijuana. And it's totally against everything that we've ever been taught in Maxine, that you could ever take something that's going to danger to society and then use it as a healer or something to keep somebody out of pain, and especially when they're really sick and dying. But it been going on for a long time, that you've gotta look at things sometimes in a different way. And it was hard for me, for this one person that passed, to sit here. I never had a joint. And I held his belt and I told him something. I said, you know, and he was telling me what it was able to do for him just a few days before he passed away. But as we move along, this lesson teaches a lot about what went along then, it's going along now. And in the next 10 years, I think we'll see marijuana, whatever form it takes, whether it's a cookie or something you smoke or candy or whatever how it comes, a medicinal application to help society is something that we're going to have to deal with. That's a difficult thing.
They're coming up with all kinds of stuff. I don't know. It looks like they could take the drug that's in it and so you didn't have to smoke it.
They're beginning to. They're beginning to.
They can, you know good well they can do that.
Oh, yeah.
Smoking ain't good for you.
No, they got it, sir. They got it.
Yeah, they got it built.
He'll say, see there? I've dealt with that for a long time.
Yeah, you can carry stuff to the extreme.
It's the intent that you use it.
No,
And most people intend to use it the wrong way.
that's right. And you can use it.
I said my ex would be tickled to death if there was. Oh my gosh. It was legal. Yeah. Then it might not be so much fun if it's legal.
I'm gonna
Everything
tell
you
you
could
why.
imagine.
After my wreck, I couldn't, it was pain. And, you know, they're cracking down in the
Heroin, they were doing all
This
that.
was after my cousin died.